Jake Martinez wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel of the exploration vessel Meridian. The ship hummed quietly around him, its engines running smoothly as they traveled through the dark space between stars. He had been working on the power systems for 3 hours, checking every wire and connection. Everything seemed normal, but the energy readings from the outer colonies had been strange lately. The Meridian was not a warship. It was built for exploration and research, carrying a crew of 42 humans who wanted to learn about the galaxy beyond Earth. Jake was the chief engineer, responsible for keeping the ship running no matter what they encountered. He was good at his job, but he never expected to face anything more dangerous than a broken generator or a damaged hull plate. The bridge communicator crackled to life above his head. "Jake, we need you up here right now," Commander Lisa Brooks said. Her voice sounded tense, which was unusual for their calm and steady leader. "We're picking up something big on the sensors." Jake quickly finished his work and made his way to the bridge. The main view screen showed the black emptiness of space, dotted with distant stars. But as he looked closer, he could see flashes of light in the distance, like lightning in a storm cloud. The sensor operator, a young woman named Betty Clark, was staring at her displays with wide eyes. "Commander, I'm reading massive energy signatures about 2 light hours ahead," Betty reported. "Multiple ships, different designs, and they're fighting each other." Commander Brooks stood with her arms crossed, studying the tactical display. She was a veteran of Earth's Space Navy, experienced and careful. "How many ships are we talking about?" she asked. "At least 50 on each side," Betty replied. "The energy outputs are enormous." "These aren't human ships, Commander. The technology is far beyond anything we've ever built." Jake felt his heart start to beat faster. Humanity had been exploring space for decades, but they had never encountered another intelligent species. The possibility of alien life had always existed, but finding it in the middle of a war was not what anyone had hoped for. "Can we go around them?" Commander Brooks asked. The navigation officer, a quiet man named Carl Davis, shook his head. "The battle zone stretches across our entire planned route. We would need to detour for weeks to avoid it completely." "What about going back?" Jake suggested. "We could report this to Earth and let them decide what to do." Commander Brooks considered this for a moment. "Our mission is to investigate the energy signatures from the outer colonies. If there's an alien war happening out here, Earth needs to know about it immediately. We'll move closer, but we'll stay hidden and observe." The Meridian changed course, moving carefully toward the battle. As they got closer, the view screen began to show individual ships locked in combat. The vessels were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Some were long and sleek, with smooth curves and glowing blue lights. Others were angular and aggressive, covered in spikes and weapon ports that flashed with red energy. "The smooth ships are losing," Betty observed. "They're being pushed back on all fronts." Jake watched as one of the blue glowing vessels exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Smaller ships seemed to be escaping from the battle, heading in different directions. Some of them were coming toward the Meridian. "Commander, we have a problem," Carl said suddenly. "One of the aggressive ships has broken off from the main battle. It's heading straight for us." The view screen switched to show a massive angular vessel approaching rapidly. It was 3 times the size of the Meridian, bristling with weapons, and covered in thick armor plates. Red lights pulsed along its hull like a heartbeat. "Are we hidden from their sensors?" Commander Brooks asked. "I don't think so," Betty replied nervously. "They're scanning us actively. I think they know we're here." Jake watched the alien warship grow larger on the screen. "Maybe they're just curious. We haven't done anything threatening." His words proved wrong a moment later. The alien ship opened fire without warning, sending bolts of red energy streaking toward the Meridian. The first shots missed, but they were clearly adjusting their aim. "Evasive maneuvers," Commander Brooks shouted. "Get us out of here." The Meridian turned sharply, its engines straining to accelerate away from the attacking vessel. Jake was thrown against a console as the ship shook from the sudden movement. More energy bolts flashed past the view screen, close enough to light. Up the bridge with their red glow? They're faster than us, Carl reported. We can't outrun them. Then we fight back, Commander Brooks decided. Jake, can you give me more power to the weapons? Jake was already working at his station, rerouting power from non-essential systems. Our weapons aren't designed for combat with something that big, he warned. We might as well be throwing rocks at a mountain. The Meridian's small defensive guns fired back at the alien warship, but the shots seemed to have no effect on its thick armor. Meanwhile, the enemy continued to close the distance, its weapons getting more accurate with each volley. A massive explosion shook the ship as one of the red energy bolts found its target. The lights flickered and Jake's engineering console showed damage reports flooding in from all sections. The hull had been breached in 3 places and the main engines were operating at only 60% power. We're losing life support on Deck 5, Betty reported. Emergency bulkheads are sealing automatically. Jake knew they were in serious trouble. The Meridian was not built to survive this kind of attack. In a few more minutes, the alien warship would destroy them completely. He was about to suggest they surrender when something unexpected happened. A small ship appeared on the sensors, moving fast and erratically. It was one of the blue glowing vessels from the earlier battle, badly damaged and leaking atmosphere. The little ship was heading straight for the Meridian, with the enemy warship following close behind. Commander, the small ship is trying to reach us, Betty said. I think it's asking for help. The damaged alien vessel suddenly changed course, putting itself between the Meridian and the attacking warship. It opened fire with whatever weapons it had left, drawing the attention of the larger ship away from the human vessel. They're protecting us, Jake realized. They're sacrificing themselves to give us a chance to escape. Commander Brooks made a quick decision. Open the cargo bay. If they want our help, we'll give it to them. The small alien ship limped toward the Meridian as the enemy warship concentrated its fire on this new threat. Jake watched in amazement as the little vessel managed to slip inside their cargo bay just before it would have been destroyed. Seal the bay and get us out of here, Commander Brooks ordered. The Meridian jumped to hyperspace just as the enemy warship fired another volley. In the sudden silence that followed, Jake realized that everything had changed. They were no longer just explorers discovering new worlds. They had become participants in an alien war, and they had no idea which side they should be on. Jake grabbed his emergency kit and ran toward the cargo bay as soon as the Meridian dropped out of hyperspace. The ship was still shaking from the damage they had taken, and he could hear the groaning of stressed metal all around him. Behind him, Commander Brooks was shouting orders to seal the breached sections and restore power to the damaged systems. The cargo bay doors were sealed tight, but Jake could see through the small window that the alien ship had crashed into several storage containers. Smoke was leaking from its hull, and strange blue lights were flickering on and off along its surface. The ship was small, maybe the size of a shuttle, but its design was completely foreign to anything Jake had ever seen. Life support is stable in the cargo bay, Betty reported through the intercom. But the alien ship is venting some kind of gas. Jake put on his breathing mask and activated the emergency airlock. The inner door opened with a hiss, and he stepped into the cargo bay. The air felt thick and warm, filled with a sweet smell that reminded him of flowers. The alien ship had torn a groove in the metal floor when it crashed, but it was still in one piece. As he got closer, Jake could see that the ship's hull was not made of metal like human vessels. It looked almost alive, with a smooth surface that seemed to pulse gently like a heartbeat. The blue lights were not electrical systems, but something that glowed from within the material itself. A section of the ship's hull suddenly opened like a flower blooming, revealing a dark interior. Jake stepped back, unsure of what to expect. Slowly, a figure emerged from the opening. Moving carefully as if in great pain, the alien was roughly humanoid in shape but clearly not human. She was tall and slender, with pale skin that had a slight blue tint. Her hair was long and white, flowing like water around her shoulders. Her eyes were large and dark, and they seemed to hold an intelligence that was both familiar and completely foreign. She wore what looked like a living suit, made of the same material as her ship. It was damaged in several places, leaking a clear fluid that Jake realized might be blood. She was holding her side with one hand, and her breathing was labored and difficult. "Help," she said in heavily accented English. "Please help." Jake was so surprised to hear her speak his language that he almost dropped his emergency kit. "You can understand me?" he asked. The alien nodded weakly. "We listen to your signals. We learn your words. My name is Zara." Jake moved closer, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm Jake. You're hurt. Let me help you." Zara looked at him with those large dark eyes, and Jake could see fear and desperation in them. "My people are dying. The hegemony kills us all." "They fear what we know. Who is the hegemony?" Jake asked as he opened his medical kit. "The red ships. They want to control all life in the galaxy. They think we are dangerous because we work with living things instead of dead metal." Jake looked at the breathing alien ship behind her and began to understand. "Your technology is biological." "Yes, we grow our ships, we heal with touch. We speak to the life around us, but the hegemony sees this as a threat. They want everything to be like them, cold and hard and controlled." As Jake examined her injuries, he realized that human medical supplies would be useless. Her biology was completely different from anything he had ever seen. The clear fluid leaking from her wounds was not blood but something else, and her internal structure seemed to be a mixture of organic and technological elements. "I don't know how to help you," Jake admitted. "Our medicine is designed for humans." Zara reached into a pouch on her living suit and pulled out what looked like a small plant. "This will help, but I need your ship's power systems to heal properly." "Can you show me your engines?" Jake hesitated. Showing alien technology to a human ship's critical systems seemed like a bad idea. But Zara was clearly dying, and she had saved them from the hegemony attack. "Why did you help us?" Jake asked. "Because you did not shoot first. The hegemony always shoots first. They think all other life is a threat to be destroyed. But you tried to hide. You did not want to fight." Jake made his decision. "Come with me. I'll show you what you need." He helped Zara walk slowly through the ship's corridors toward the engine room. Other crew members stared as they passed, but no one tried to stop them. News of their alien rescue had spread quickly, and everyone was curious about their unexpected guest. The engine room was Jake's domain, filled with the humming machinery that kept the Meridian running. Zara looked around with interest, her eyes taking in the complex arrangement of pipes and wires and control panels. "Your technology is very different from ours," she said, "but it has its own kind of life. The energy flows like blood through metal veins." She approached the main power coupling and placed her hand on the warm metal surface. Jake was about to warn her about the dangerous electrical currents when something amazing happened. The plant-like device in her other hand began to glow, and he could see energy flowing between it and the ship's power systems. "What are you doing?" Jake asked. "Healing," Zara replied. "My people understand that all energy is connected. Your ship's power can help restore my body, and in return, I can help your ship run more efficiently." Jake watched in amazement as the ship's systems began to operate more smoothly. The damaged circuits started to repair themselves, and the engine output increased without any additional fuel consumption. It was like watching magic, except that Jake knew it had to be some kind of advanced science. "How is this possible?" he asked. "Life and technology are not separate things," Zara explained. "They are part of the same pattern. Your people build machines to do what you cannot do with your bodies. My people grow ourselves to become what we need to be." Over the next few hours, Jake learned more about Zara's people, who called themselves the Kalani. They had been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years, always searching for new forms of life to study and understand. They had never conquered other species or taken resources by force. Instead, they had formed partnerships with the worlds they encountered, sharing knowledge and growing stronger together. The hegemony had appeared in their region of space only recently, but they had quickly become a threat to everything the Kalani valued. They destroyed entire worlds that would not submit to their control, and they had developed weapons specifically designed to kill biological technology. They are afraid of us because we show that their way is not the only way, Zara said. If, other species see that life and technology can work together, they might reject the hegemony's cold rule. Jake understood now why the hegemony had attacked the Meridian without warning. They saw any non-aligned species as a potential threat to their expansion. Humanity was about to face the same choice that had destroyed the Kelani: submit or be destroyed. What can we do? Jake asked. Zara looked at him with those deep dark eyes. We must warn your people. But first we must survive. The hegemony will not give up easily. They will hunt us across the galaxy if necessary. As if summoned by her words, the ship's alarms began to sound. Betty's voice came over the intercom, tight with fear. Commander, we have multiple contacts. On long-range sensors? Hegemony ships are moving into this system. Jake felt his heart sink. Their escape had been temporary. The real fight was just beginning. Commander Brooks stood on the bridge watching the tactical display with growing concern. 6 hegemony warships had surrounded the Meridian, their red lights pulsing like angry eyes in the darkness. They were too far away to attack immediately, but close enough to prevent any escape attempt. They're not moving in, Betty reported from her sensor station. They're just watching us. Jake stood next to Zara near the back of the bridge, helping to support her weakened form. The alien woman had grown paler over the past hour, and the clear fluid was leaking more freely from her wounds. The connection to the ship's power systems had helped, but it was not enough to save her life. They want me, Zara said quietly. The hegemony does not care about your people yet. Give me to them and they will let you go. That's not going to happen, Jake said firmly. We don't abandon people who helped us. Commander Brooks turned to face them. What exactly do they want with you? Are you some kind of leader? Zara shook her head slowly. I am a memory keeper. My people store important knowledge in our genetic patterns. I carry the location of every Kelani colony, the secrets of our biotechnology, and most importantly, the weaknesses we discovered in hegemony systems. Weaknesses? Commander Brooks asked, her interest clearly growing. The hegemony builds everything from the same basic designs. Their ships, their weapons, their armor all follow the same patterns. We learned how to disrupt those patterns, how to make their technology turn against itself. But we never had time to use this knowledge before they destroyed our homeworld. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. You're telling us that you know how to defeat them? Not defeat. But I know how to hurt them badly enough that they might leave your people alone. The knowledge is encoded in my genetic memory. But if I die, it dies with me. The bridge communicator crackled to life, and a harsh mechanical voice filled the air. Human vessel, this is Hegemony Command Ship Dominator. You will surrender the Kelani criminal immediately, or you will be destroyed. Commander Brooks activated the reply channel. This is Commander Brooks of the exploration vessel Meridian. We are a peaceful ship on a scientific mission. We have no quarrel with your people. You harbor a Kelani terrorist. This makes you enemies of the hegemony. You have 10 minutes to transfer the alien to our custody. If you comply, you will be allowed to return to your homeworld and prepare for integration into the hegemony empire. The communication ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Jake could see the struggle in Commander Brooks' eyes. She was responsible for the lives of 42 humans, and the smart tactical decision was obvious. Commander, Carl said quietly, if we give them what they want, maybe we can get home and warn Earth about what's coming. And if we don't? Commander Brooks asked. Then we all die here, Betty said, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake looked at Zara and saw that she was preparing to sacrifice herself. Her hand was moving toward something on her living suit, probably a way to end her own life before the hegemony could take her alive. Wait, Jake said, there has to be another option. What option? Commander Brooks asked. We can't fight 6 warships with an exploration vessel. Jake's mind raced through the possibilities. The Meridian was not built for combat, but it did have one experimental system that might give them a chance. What about the quantum drive? The quantum drive is for emergency use only, Commander Brooks replied. It's never been tested in combat conditions. But it could work, Jake insisted. If we can create a quantum tunnel big enough, we might be able to escape before they can react. Or we might tear ourselves apart in the process, Commander Brooks pointed out. Zara suddenly grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. There is another way, the genetic memory transfer. I can give you the knowledge, but the process is dangerous for both of us. What kind of dangerous? Jake asked. It will link our minds permanently. You will carry part of my consciousness for the rest of your life? But you will also have access to all the knowledge my people have gathered about the hegemony. Commander Brooks stepped closer. Could this knowledge really help us fight them? Not just fight them, Zara said. It could help you save your entire species. The hegemony is not just expanding randomly. They are running from something worse, something that destroys entire galaxies. If you understand their technology, you might be able to prepare for what is coming. Jake felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Accept the link with Zara, and he would gain incredible knowledge but lose part of his humanity. Refuse, and the secrets would die with her. How long does the transfer take? He asked. Several hours, but I am dying already. The connection to your ship's power systems is not enough to keep me alive much longer. The hegemony ships were moving closer, their weapons powering up for an attack. Jake could see the red glow of their charging systems growing brighter on the view screen. Commander, Betty said urgently, they're not waiting for the 10 minutes. They're preparing to attack now, Commander Brooks made her decision. Jake, start the quantum drive sequence. If we're going to run, we need to do it now. Jake ran to his engineering station and began the complex startup procedure for the experimental drive. The quantum tunnel would take 3 minutes to form, and they would need to hold off the hegemony attack until then. Zara, he said over his shoulder, if you're going to do this memory transfer, it has to be now. The alien woman nodded and moved to stand beside him at the console. She placed her hand on his arm, and Jake felt a strange, tingling sensation begin to spread through his body. This will hurt, she warned. Do it, Jake said. Zara's eyes began to glow with the same blue light as her ship's systems. Jake felt her consciousness touch his mind, and suddenly he was flooded with images and knowledge from an entirely different species. He saw the Kalani homeworld in its beauty before the hegemony attack. He experienced their philosophy of working with life instead of against it. And he felt their terror as the red ships filled their skies. The pain was incredible, like having his brain rewired while he was still awake. But through it all, Jake held on to his essential humanity, using it as an anchor to keep from being lost in the alien memories. The hegemony ships opened fire, their red energy beams striking the Meridian's shields. The ship shook violently, but the quantum drive continued its charging sequence. 2 minutes to tunnel formation, Jake managed to say through gritted teeth. The memory transfer was accelerating, and Jake could feel Zara's life force flowing into him. She was dying, but her knowledge was becoming part of him. He understood now how to disrupt hegemony technology, how to turn their own weapons against them. Jake, Zara whispered, her voice growing weaker. Take me with you or leave me to die, but promise me you will use this knowledge to save both our peoples. Jake squeezed her hand. I promise. The quantum tunnel opened just as the hegemony ships closed in for the killing blow. The Meridian disappeared into the swirling energy vortex, carrying with it the last hope for both human and Kalani survival. The Meridian tumbled through the quantum tunnel like a leaf in a storm, its hull groaning under the stress of the unnatural journey. Jake held tightly to his engineering console as reality twisted around them, the view screen showing impossible colors that hurt to look at directly. The memory transfer with Zara had left him dizzy and confused, with alien thoughts mixing with his own human consciousness. Zara collapsed against him, her breathing shallow and labored. The glowing blue light in her eyes was fading, and Jake could feel her life force ebbing away through their new mental connection. She had given him everything she had, and now she was dying from the effort. How much longer? Commander Brooks shouted over the noise of the straining engines. 30 seconds, Jake replied, fighting to focus on his instruments through the chaos of foreign memories flooding his mind. He could see images of Kelani worlds, beautiful cities that grew like living trees, and the terrible day when the hegemony fleet had arrived to destroy them all. The quantum tunnel suddenly collapsed around them, and the meridian burst back into normal space with a violent shudder. The view screen cleared to show the familiar sight of distant stars, but Jake knew they were far from where they had started. The quantum drive had carried them across thousands of light years in just a few minutes. "Where are we?" Commander Brooks asked. Carl checked his navigation instruments and shook his head. "I'm not sure. The quantum jump scrambled our position sensors. It will take time to figure out our location." Jake helped Zara to a nearby chair, supporting her weakened form. Through their mental link, he could feel her pain and exhaustion. She was fighting to stay alive, but her body was failing rapidly. "The knowledge," she whispered. "Do you have it?" Jake nodded, though he was still struggling to understand everything that had been transferred to him. "It's all here, but it's going to take time to sort through it all. Time we may not have," Commander Brooks said grimly. "If the hegemony can track quantum signatures, they might be able to follow us." As if summoned by her words, Betty's sensors began to beep urgently. "Commander, I'm detecting multiple contacts at the edge of the system. They're not hegemony ships, but they're definitely not human either." Jake closed his eyes and reached into the alien memories that Zara had given him. Images flashed through his mind, and he suddenly understood what they were seeing. They're Kelani survivors. Zara's people have refugee fleets scattered throughout this region of space. Are they friendly? Commander Brooks asked. "They're terrified," Jake replied, interpreting the emotions he could feel through his new connection to Kelani consciousness. "The hegemony has been hunting them for months. They don't know if we're friends or enemies." Zara struggled to sit up straighter. "Use the greeting pattern. Show them that you carry my memories." Jake moved to the communication station and began to transmit a complex series of signals that felt familiar despite being completely alien. The pattern was part music, part mathematics, and part something that human science had no name for. It was a way of speaking that went beyond words. The response came quickly, a similar pattern but filled with hope and curiosity. Jake found that he could understand it perfectly, as if he had been speaking this language his entire life. "They want to meet with us," he told Commander Brooks. "They have information about the hegemony that we need to hear." 2 hours later, Jake stood in the Meridian's main conference room facing a group of Kelani survivors. They were similar to Zara in appearance, but each one was unique in subtle ways. Their leader, an elderly female named Kira, spoke in the same accented English that Zara had used. "We felt the memory transfer," Kira said, looking directly at Jake. "Zara gave you her entire genetic legacy. This is unprecedented in our history." "She's dying," Jake said simply. "She wanted to make sure the knowledge would survive." "The knowledge is not just information," Kira explained. "It is a living part of our culture. By accepting it, you have become something new, neither fully human nor fully Kelani, but a bridge between our peoples." Commander Brooks leaned forward. "What can you tell us about the hegemony threat?" "They are worse than you can imagine," Kira replied. "They do not just conquer worlds. They transform them, making everything conform to their cold vision of order. Every species they encounter must choose between submission and extinction." Jake felt a chill as new memories surfaced from his link with Zara. He saw worlds stripped of all life, their surfaces covered with identical metal structures. He saw entire species reduced to slavery, their cultures erased and replaced with hegemony doctrine. "But that's not the worst part," Kira continued. "The hegemony is not expanding by choice. They are fleeing from something that terrifies them, something that comes from the galactic core." "What kind of something?" Commander Brooks asked. "We do not know exactly," Kira admitted. "But our deep space sensors have detected massive energy, signatures moving outward from the center of the galaxy. Whatever it is, it destroys everything in its path." The hegemony believes that only by controlling every world and every species can they create a defense strong enough to stop it. Jake suddenly understood the true scope of the threat facing humanity. How long before this thing reaches Earth? Perhaps 50 years, Kira said. But the hegemony will reach your homeworld much sooner. They have already sent advanced scouts to study your defenses. Through his connection to Zara, Jake felt a surge of desperate hope. There's a way to fight them. Zara gave me the knowledge of how to disrupt their technology. The biotechnical hybrid systems? Kira said, nodding. We developed them as a last resort, but we never had the chance to use them before our homeworld fell. What do they do? Commander Brooks asked. Jake closed his eyes and let the alien memories guide his words. The hegemony's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. All their technology follows the same basic patterns. If you can learn to interface with those patterns, you can turn their own systems against them. But the interface requires a living host, Kira added. Someone who can bridge the gap between biological and mechanical systems. Someone like you, Jake, who carries both human and Kalani consciousness. The implications of what they were saying slowly sank in. Jake would have to become something more than human to save his species. He would have to accept a permanent transformation that would change him forever. There's something else, Kira said quietly. The hybrid systems require a constant biological component to function. The host becomes the living heart of the defense. Network. You mean I would have to stay connected to it permanently? Jake asked. Yes, and over time the connection becomes deeper. You would gain incredible power, but you would also lose more of your humanity with each passing day. Jake looked at Zara, who was listening to the conversation with growing weakness. Through their mental link, he could feel her emotions, her gratitude that he had chosen to save her, and her fear that she was asking too much of him. We should head for Earth, Commander Brooks said. Your government needs to know about this threat immediately. Agreed, Kira said. But be warned, the hegemony will not give up easily. They know that Jake carries the knowledge they fear most. They will hunt him across the galaxy if necessary. As if summoned by her words, the ship's alarms began to sound. Betty's voice came over the intercom, filled with panic. Commander, massive energy signatures detected. Hegemony battle fleet dropping out of hyperspace. Jake felt his heart sink. As he realized the truth, the quantum jump had not saved them. It had only delayed the inevitable confrontation. The real battle was about to begin. The hegemony battle fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of angry metal wasps, their red lights blazing against the darkness. Jake counted at least 20 warships, each one larger and more heavily armed than the vessel that had attacked them before. The Meridian and the small group of Kalani refugee ships looked pathetically small in comparison. We can't fight them, Commander Brooks said, her voice tight with controlled fear. We need to run. Where? Jake asked, feeling the alien memories stir in his mind. They'll follow us anywhere we go? They can't let me live with this knowledge. Through his connection to Zara, he could feel her growing weaker with each passing moment. She was using the last of her strength to stay conscious, knowing that her people needed her guidance in these final moments. There is another way, Kira sighed quietly. The hybrid defense system can be activated now here, using the combined power of our ships. But we're nowhere near Earth, Commander Brooks protested. How will that help humanity? Jake suddenly understood what Kira was suggesting. It's not about defending Earth right now. It's about proving that the system works. If we can damage the hegemony fleet badly enough, word will spread that they can be defeated. The psychological impact, Zara whispered through their mental link. Other species will see that the hegemony is not invincible. Resistance movements across the galaxy will be inspired to fight back. The hegemony ships were moving into attack formation, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Jake could see the familiar red glow building along their hulls, and he knew they had only minutes before the assault began. What do I need to do? He asked Kira. Link with our bioships, she replied. Let the Kalani technology merge with your human engineering knowledge. But understand, once you make this connection, there will be no going back. You will become something new. Jake looked around the conference room at the faces watching him. Commander Brooks was struggling with the decision to risk her engineer on an untested alien technology. The Kelani survivors were hoping for a miracle that might avenge their destroyed homeworld. And Zara was preparing to give what remained of her life to make the connection possible. "Do it," Jake said. Kira led him quickly to the Meridian's main computer core, where several Kelani technicians were already working to establish links between their bioships and the human vessel. Jake could see organic cables growing from their equipment, reaching out to touch the metal surfaces of the ship's systems. "Place your hands here," Kira instructed, indicating a pulsing green surface that had grown around the main power coupling. Jake hesitated for only a moment before pressing his palms against the alien interface. Immediately, he felt a surge of energy unlike anything he had ever experienced. The biotechnology began to merge with his nervous system, creating connections that went far deeper than the mental link he shared with Zarada through the new interface. Jake could suddenly perceive the entire battle fleet as a single interconnected system. He felt the Meridian's engines as if they were part of his own body. He sensed the life force flowing through the Kelani bioships like his own heartbeat. And most importantly, he could see the rigid patterns that governed every aspect of hegemony technology. The enemy ships were firing now, their red energy beams lancing through space toward the small group of allied vessels. But Jake was no longer just human, and he was no longer limited to human responses. He reached out through the hybrid system and touched the hegemony weapons as they fired. The red energy beams twisted in mid-flight, turning back on the ships that had fired them. Explosions blossomed along the hulls of 3 hegemony warships, as their own weapons struck them instead of their intended targets. "Impossible," came the mechanical voice of the hegemony commander. "No species has ever been able to disrupt our targeting systems." Jake smiled grimly as he reached deeper into the enemy network. Through the bio-interface, he could feel the cold artificial intelligence that controlled the hegemony fleet. It was vast and powerful, but it was also predictable. Every decision it made followed the same logical patterns, and Jake now understood those patterns completely. "Your strength is your weakness," he said, though he knew the hegemony commander could not hear him. "You made everything the same, so when one part fails, everything fails." He sent a pulse of energy through the hybrid system, targeting the central command protocols that linked all hegemony ships together. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the enemy vessels began to lose coordination. Their formations broke apart as individual ships started following conflicting orders, but the effort was costing Jake dearly. He could feel his human consciousness being stretched thin as the alien technology demanded more and more of his life force. Through his link with Zara, he sensed her trying to help him, sharing what little strength she had left. "I can't maintain this much longer," he told Kira. "You don't need to," she replied. "The hegemony ships are already retreating. They don't understand what happened, and they're afraid." Jake looked at the tactical display and saw that she was right. The surviving hegemony vessels were pulling back, their red lights flickering uncertainly. They had faced something they had never encountered before, a hybrid of technologies that defied their understanding of how the universe worked. "This is Hegemony Command Ship Dominator," the mechanical voice said. "We will report this incident to the High Council. Your species will be marked for total extermination." The enemy fleet disappeared into hyperspace, leaving behind only the wreckage of the ships that Jake had turned against themselves. The immediate threat was over, but Jake knew it was only the beginning. "They'll be back," he said, his voice sounding strange even to himself. The bio-interface had changed him, and he could feel alien thoughts and capabilities becoming part of his consciousness. "Yes," Kira agreed. "But now they know they can be defeated. Word of this battle will spread to every corner of the galaxy. Other species will see that resistance is possible." Zara's hand found his, and Jake felt her consciousness touching his one last time. "Thank you," she whispered. "You chose to take me with you instead of leaving me to die. Now both our peoples have hope." Jake squeezed her hand gently, knowing that she was finally letting go. Your sacrifice won't be forgotten. I'll carry your memories and your people's knowledge to Earth. Humanity will be ready when the hegemony comes. Zara smiled peacefully as her life force flowed completely into the hybrid system. She was gone, but her consciousness lived on as part of the biotechnological network that now connected Jake to both human and Kalani technology. Commander Brooks approached him cautiously. Jake, are you still you? Jake turned to look at her, and she could see that his eyes now held the same blue glow that had marked Zara's people. I'm still me, he said. But I'm also something more. Something that can bridge the gap between species and technologies. What happens now? She asked. Jake looked out at the stars, seeing them with new perception that combined human determination with Kalani wisdom. Now we go home. We warn Earth about what's coming, and we prepare for the real war. The hegemony will return with everything they have, but they won't be fighting just humans anymore. He could feel the alien knowledge flowing through his transformed consciousness, showing him possibilities that neither species could have achieved alone. The choice he had made to save Zara had changed everything. Humanity would face the coming darkness not as a single species, but as part of something larger and stronger. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans chose compassion over fear, they became capable of things that even their enemies could not imagine.